Now the bitter voyage is ending. The sea and the terrors of the night are past. The quay is still quiet, but everything is ready. The makeshift infirmary, the emergency equipment, the special facilities for babies in what is normally the passenger waiting room, converted for the duration into a nursery. These aren't ordinary travelers. 12,000 are expected in Marseille today, refugees fleeing from war and death in the streets of Algeria. The fortunate have families. For others, there are only friends, perhaps these with armbands reading Jewish Aid. The volunteers are ready to board the El Mansour immediately. Today there are many aboard who will need special help in landing. The children are brought off first to wait in the nursery until their parents can come for them. It's easy to identify the volunteers. They're the ones wearing their hearts on their sleeves. The armband identifies FSJU, the French Jewish Welfare Agency, one of the many voluntary groups working together. Other passengers are beginning to land now. In 4 months, the exodus totals more than 600,000. Perhaps 1 of every 6 is a Jew. Some will not remember, others will never forget. Today's goodness cannot erase the pain of days gone by. For the moment, they have won the battle for survival. Tonight, there will be no explosions to wake them, no new orphans. But for many, future is a word without meaning. This security is all too brief. No further than the end of the quay, the struggle for survival is waiting for them again. The microphone keeps calling. The family Vaccaro is asking for Pierre Dupont. The sea and the terrors of the night are past. Now the long, hard days begin. From Tunisia, over 30,000 Jews have fled since Bizerta. You are seeing Teresa Halimi and her children, their passage paid for by United Highest Service at the moment of their landing, knowing no one in Marseille. But they have FSJU volunteers to welcome them. We had to come, Mrs. Halimi tells the volunteers, even though my husband didn't send for us. On the same ship, there are others for whom tomorrow begins here today. Since 1948, whole Jewish communities have torn up their age-old roots to pass this way. A man from the Jewish agency says, Shalom. There are voices singing long forbidden songs. Another day, and Israel. To the FSJU office in Marseille, each new ship brings a new cargo of need. To those in trouble, your money helps a man named Sam Castro give emergency aid, food, clothing, or railroad fare to join a husband and father in Paris. Paris, the Arch of Triumph, the Eiffel Tower, the Church of the Sacré-Cœur, all famous landmarks. But stand on the steps below Sacré-Cœur and turn your head. This, too, is Montmartre. This, too, is a landmark, not for tourists, but for Jewish refugees. The day and night shelter. For those in flight, strangers in a strange land, the first and most urgent need is a few days' rest, a chance to breathe. The men and boys are in another dormitory, the women and small children here. Some already making new friends, others worrying for those left behind. Some content with today, others beginning to think of tomorrow. Still others prisoners of yesterday. An emergency leaves no time for fun as usual. The Jewish Boy Scouts give up their games to comfort the weary, and thereby give new meaning to their oath. An athlete pictures for a woman of the desert the Paris she will never see. From the boulevard, a crisis center is just another building, nothing to disturb the passerby. Visitors to Paris this year still follow the familiar paths to the gay places, but have your taxi stop a block further along the Rue Richer. There is also a grimmer side to Paris this year. Here, right here. 7:30 in the morning isn't the best time to come here. All one can see now are the preparations for the work of the day. And some more of your help, by the way. By 9, the kitchen is a busy place. You might find some of the equipment strange, but the purpose is clear. 10 o'clock. Some of the waitresses have volunteered to serve. At 11, the day's activities really begin with those who come for take-home meals. All the customers are refugees. A meal may cost 40 cents or nothing at all. Ruth's family pays 10 cents each. They came to Paris from Warsaw only last month. Outside, the line begins to form before 12. 1,000 people will eat here in the next 2 hours. A JDC welfare worker of the post-war days came back to the canteen not long ago. "My God," he said, "it's 1945 all over again." Every face in the lines testifies, no matter how long and hard today is, it is still better here than where they came from. Whether tomorrow means a new land or staying here, no one is going back to tyranny. They have tasted freedom here, as Mrs. Halimi and her children are doing. How do you feed 1,000 in a dining room that seats only 350? If no one is turned away, the answer is 3 shifts. And rest later on. New faces appear daily. Today, France has 500,000 Jews, the world's 4th largest Jewish community. 4 out of 5 Jews have come since World War II. France's welcome to refugees is extraordinary. But unless he's a French citizen, once a refugee arrives, he's on his own. To whom does he turn, then? How does he begin? There is almost nothing a refugee doesn't need. Someone to answer some questions, a place to live, a job. Most of all, the knowledge that others care. The Tunisian Information Center is just one of the many agencies you help to support. A case in point, the Ederi family. Urgently needed, a meal card. Yuda Ederi has TB, Egyptian refugee, 4 children, 1 with polio, in and out of hospitals. Also needed, money to pay the rent. Still unable to work, one of the many thousands getting direct relief. Also needed, a food package, a blanket, winter is coming. Clothing, a warm coat for a little girl. The Bahars came to Paris in June with $70. All the Tunisian government permitted them. They gave up everything except the children's future. Helping takes trained people. JDC had to assign staff members here from other countries for emergency duty.
Vous venez de quelle région, monsieur?
J'arrive de Tunis, capitale de la Tunisie, madame.
Moïse Bahar, forced to ask for help. His children are hungry, Annette's cough is getting worse, but pleading desperately, doesn't anyone have a job for a 41-year-old ex-office manager? Does he have to start all over again, learn a new trade? If he does have to, Miss Levy tells him, there are courses for adults, electronics, radio, sheet metal, at the vocational school. And for children like Annette, a place where the scars left by hunger, disease, and hate can begin to heal. In one room, a little girl from Marrakesh whose father died of TB in the Mela. In the waiting room, there's a 5-year-old from Bucharest named Veronica with her sister to keep her company. They're on their way to California. The Chomkeen Clinic is 40 years old. JDC help continued to reach Jews in Paris even during World War II and the Nazi occupation. Veronica has to have a tooth filled, and it won't hurt a bit. But others have scars too deep to heal, or years too many to carry alone. When nearly all the Jews of Oran fled from Algeria, those in the hospitals and the old age homes were evacuated too. The report sent by the Oran Consistoire on Mardouche Agi reads, born 1890, no resources, invalided in World War I. The truth is, there aren't enough Jewish institutions to care for all the refugees, especially the sick and the aged. But every institution is crowded far beyond the authorized limit. For widows, for working mothers, for refugee families crowded into the slums, there is a nursery, a safe place to leave babies during the day. There is tenderness here, and people who know how to keep a baby happy. But having a father is better. To build new lives for their families, the newcomers settled in Marseille, Nîmes, Avignon, Toulouse, even towns where Jews had never lived before. But Paris meant jobs and friends and families. 40,000 stayed only to find themselves living in a nightmare. Walk down an alley in the Belleville section into the long, dark days of Pierre Henouz, Tunisian refugee. The room is 8 feet square. The floor is below ground level. They have been here 5 months. It's all they can afford on what Pierre makes as an auto mechanic. The children sleep crosswise on the bed. The parents share a folding cot. Next door, the same size room, the Carassos, here 14 months. 3 children, a cousin, the wife's brother. He's promised his brother in Tunisia the room when he is able to move. Across the way, the Dichis. For a room 12 by 15, they paid $600 key money. They sold whatever they could and borrowed the rest from the special North African Housing Fund. Your money again. You've seen their faces and their dignity. They're not living in a slum because they're slum dwellers. There isn't a hole or corner in Paris without a refugee family. Take number 29 Rue de Maubeuge, fine building, good neighborhood. But climb the 7 flights to an attic room to see why Albert Halimi never sent for his wife and children. Muslim hatred drove them from Tunisia. Here Albert works as an auto painter for $25 a week. Yesterday they heard of a 2-room apartment. Key money, $1,800. How do 8 people sleep in a room 6 by 8? We don't, Albert answers. The little ones get the bed. The rest of us, we sit up all night with our backs to the wall. We know why we came, he says, but why is it we can't live like human beings, just because we wanted to live as Jews? To live as Jews, a group of North African refugees in Sarcelles, near Paris, are beginning as other new communities have. They're using an apartment as their house of worship. A former businessman from Egypt, others from Tunisia and Algeria, they brought with them, to sustain them among strangers, their faith and their traditions. But they could not bring their synagogues or schools for their children. The Sabbath brings a special unity. The service combines the chants and the prayers of their 3 former communities. By next year, there may be 5,000 Jews in Sarcelles, with a synagogue that you're helping them to build here. These are men winning their struggle for survival, spiritual as well as physical. But for Albert Halimi, refugee, the long, hard days have not yet ended.
That's it, Mr. Wahlberg.
Thank you, Murray. France today, a different arena, but the same struggle for survival, which we've been supporting for 25 years through the United Jewish Appeal. These are the symbols of survival. In Marseille, the sign that someone cares. In Paris, the basic elements of life. A meal ticket, a job and some cash, rent money or a housing loan, a clinic, a day nursery, a synagogue in Sarcelles. These are the things we must provide and keep providing as refugees arrive in France day after day. At the same time, we must provide and keep providing all the other life-supporting aid brought to hundreds of thousands by UJA, medicines in schools and a summer camp in Poland, ships to carry immigrants to Israel, vital assistance to struggling agricultural settlements there, care for the aged in Malban homes. Other communities are helping, but only American Jewry can give enough to tip the scales from death to life. For Albert Halemi, for the other refugees and immigrants, for our fellow Jews overseas, how long will the days be, and how dark? The answer is up to us, and the way is through giving to the United Jewish Appeal today and giving generously through your local campaign.